Hello, everybody. I'm going live a little early. We're going to be pretty chill on this live book tag today. Welcome to the discussion. Welcome to my channel. You're on Booktube. My name is Margaret Bernard. If you don't know me, I'm a historical fiction author and historical fantasy author and an eclectic reader. So we're going to be picking up on some of my eclectic reads today for this book tag. And it's going to be all over the place. I'm going to get a little pedantic. I'm going to tell you some books you've never heard of because we're the queen of books you've never heard of. And hopefully, maybe one of them catches your eye and, you find a good book recommendation today because that's what we love to do here. Hi, people arriving early. Cool Gamer, hello. Hey, Anita. Welcome. So today, the name of the game is another Booktok-inspired book tag. If you've seen the other videos recently, you know what this is about. Basically, I heard Maria Inez and a couple other booktubers who've been in the game a long time say that Booktok, which is like the hot new thing and gets all the displays in Barnes & Noble, is basically just going through the same growing pains and emotions as BookTube, but like 6 years ago, which I found funny. So I'm on TikTok, but we'll just call it the Clock app. But I am not mostly in Booktok. I'm sort of like got 5 feet in different corners, which is, I guess, how I like it. Booktok stuff is not really my jam, but I'm stealing the trends and the little fads that they're doing and bringing them over back to BookTube because there's a new crew of people, and I'm in that crew, and we can have a little fun with the same trends. So that's what we're doing. Today is There Are 10, but, and this is actually rather new, and KD Books, who's a pretty big booktuber from Wales. I can't do a Welsh accent, so I can't do any sort of homage, but he's got a great channel. He has written out 6 questions for this book tag. There are 10, but here's my little twist. I don't think they're logical according to the actual trend. So I'll show you what I mean in a second. If you've got questions, don't forget you can always pop them in the chat. I'm friendly. Melissa's here. She's not. You're never late. A wizard is never late. You're just not last minute, let's say. Excellent. Nice to see you. And that could be because I'm at a new time. Like, I don't normally do a Friday evening just by myself. I usually have panels. So glad to see that worked out. Hope your kiddo is feeling better today. Okay, so back to the logic. Kieron's 6 questions are, let's just take number 1 here. There are 10, but they're 500 plus pages long. And let's explain. Let's unpack this. So I've got like a dozen books. I went through my story graph. I took like a dozen books that were rated 5 stars because that's the only star rating they filter for you, and looked at the ones that were over 500 pages. And there's a bunch. So I could rattle those off as recommendations, but they're probably ones you've heard. Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzie Lee, Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor, Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien, The Weight of Ink by Rachel Kadish, A Gentleman in Moscow by, I can't remember his name. I'm remembering all the authors to these off the top of my head. Dragon Prince by Melanie Ron, The Historian by something Christova, Christie, which is famous for the Christie Award, can't remember her name, The Firebird by Susanna Kearsley, Sherwood by Park Godwin, Outlander and Voyager by Diana Gabaldon, and Jane Eyre, surprisingly over 500 pages, at least in some version, on the story graph. And so, like, all of those are 10s, like 10 out of 10, and they're over 500 pages long. But that's not the point of the game. The point of the game is actually to switch the 10, because originally There Are 10 is about the attractiveness of a person. So, like, I think what you might have done, what I might have done if I didn't have another person already translating this into a book tag, was go by the book cover and say, for example, um, I brought some examples out, like this beautiful number here. It's a 10 based on the outside, based on the attractiveness on the outside. But then when you get to get to know them or get to know the book and realize, oh, they have this really weird thing that like changes your estimation of their desirability. You get what I'm saying? So like the Essex Serpent, it's a 10, but uh, it's a little drifty and vague, and sometimes that's great, but sometimes it's not. So it's an 8, right? So that would be my logical way to do it. But what do you think? Is this crazy? Do I not make sense at all? Yeah, Melissa says 500 plus pages is more time to enjoy. So depending on how you're going to interpret the but, the conjunction in that sentence, we could go either way, right? Hi, Jeremy. Welcome. So the second question, since I've gone through a dozen books, and we're sort of treating 500 pages as neutral for me. It doesn't change the scale either way because 500 pages can be more to enjoy, or it can be you're losing me, you're flabby, you're stuffing too much butter. Nope, butter scraped over too much bread. Sorry. So anyway, that's a neutral. Question number 2 is they're a 10, but they're on pre-order. Oh, oh, why did I pick this tag to do today? You may have figured this one out, folks. Okay, so I've got several pre-order books to recommend. So obviously I can't tell about the content of these because I haven't read them, but they are books by authors I do admire, and so I'm going to read them, and I have them on pre-order or I have an ARC. So let's pop these in the chat so that you can get to know them too. Because if you like my reading style, booktube style, recommending style, you may like these books too. So the first one on pre-order is Julie Gerstenblatt, who's a fellow Blazer over on Mighty Blaze, Daughters of Nantucket. Daughters, and I didn't type this out in advance. That would have been smart. So, Daughters of Nantucket, it is a historical fiction, and here's the bit of the blurb that makes it sound really juicy. Set against Nantucket's Great Fire of 1846, this sweeping, emotional novel brings together 3 courageous women battling to save everything they hold dear. So there's a big fire. A massive fire breaks out in town, quickly kindled by the densely packed wooden buildings. With everything they possess, these 3 women now threatened, these 3 very different women are forced to reevaluate their priorities and decide what to save, what to let go, and what kind of life to rebuild from the ashes of the past. Cool, right? So I haven't read this yet. I don't have an arc in advance, but I do know that that's coming out in March 2023. So it's available for pre-order, and the link is in the chat. The next one I have is Leah Engstman, and fellow booktuber Jim's Books Reading and Stuff has also read this book and really liked it. So I'm going to pop her next book in here, which is on pre-order right now. It's called Shoot the Horses First, and I have an arc for this one. It's gorgeous. So this could actually work for it's a 10, but look at that cover. It's like a digitized stencil, super vicious horse fight. What? Right? So Leah Engstman is a historical fiction writer, and she's done, wait for it, a collection of short stories. See a theme? See a theme? And so they're a 10, but they're on pre-order. Again, it's neutral. I've read 3. She has like 16 in here, so there's a bunch more than mine. But the 3 are really good, so I'm pretty sure it's going to be a 10. But yeah, pre-order Leah Engstman's book, and I'll talk about her other book in a second. I've also got Unlocked. So they do not have a bookshop link, but they do have an Amazon pre-order link. So Unlocked, and this is by my friends over at Paper Lantern Writers. They're a Northern California writers sort of marketing cooperative. And on October 28th, I'm going to have a panel with Leah Angstman, and Edie Kay and Anna Brazel. And Edie and Anna are two of the contributing authors to Unlocked. And for that cover, I did it in advance. There we go. So it's called Unlocked. It's an anthology. I think they have 8 stories. Good number 8. And they're all historical fiction, vastly different periods because they specialize in different periods. So yeah, very fun historical fiction anthology of 6, 7 different writers. So very exciting. And 2 of them are coming on the channel, my channel, on Friday, October 28th. So the event isn't up yet, but it will be very soon. I just want to put that out there for people. Let's see. We've got Daughters of Nantucket. We've got Shoot the Horses First, and we've got Unlocked. They're all in the chat. What other pre-order link might I want to put out there? Oh, what is this? Let's see. Catch up here. When I was growing up, I watched the TV show comedy Wings about 2 brothers pilots of Nantucket. I did not remember that that was set on Nantucket because I don't think I knew what Nantucket was reputation-wise. But you're right. You're right. I definitely watched that show a lot. Anita's saying, I got one of those 10 pre-order books. Interesting. I wonder which one. Melissa says, loved Wings. She liked the TV show too. Used to watch it every week with my mom. Yeah, I remember watching Wings on like a, I don't know, 10-inch screen that had buttons for channels, like push buttons. Anyone else? Can anyone else compete with that? Jeremy says, Shoot the Horses First is a great title. Totally. All right, well, the cat's out of the bag. Let me pop in the pre-order link that I'm promoting today because today was my cover reveal, and that means I have a book coming out. It's called Fabled Passages, and it's speculative fiction short stories. And I have the thing for that too. There we go. So that's the cover. It's very simple. It's not. Oh, and I just blanked on the word for serifs. It's a sans serif font, which I don't normally do. I usually historical lends itself to serif fonts, but I went out of my general rut with the cover collection, who do a beautiful job, and I chose this cover, and they helped me figure it out, and I love it. So it's about 25,000 words. It's 8 stories. I wrote them all. They're varying lengths. They're different historical periods. They're all sort of fantastical. They come at you from different angles. It's very exciting. It's very different from what I've written before, although I do have a historical with time travel. So, you know, it's in the DNA. But this is very exciting. It's coming out October 25th, and the link is in the chat. So there we go. Okay, so there was my very flimsy pretext, thank you, Kieron, to talk about pre-ordered books and flog my book. There we go. We can now proceed. Oh, okay. Anita's close. I had a tiny TV with a dial to turn the channels. I can't remember what was at the bottom. There must have been a dial or a different sort of thing to turn it on. But yeah, lovely cover. Thank you. Anita does her own covers, so she's like in another league. I could never. Jeremy says, I like the way the blues blend together. Thank you. Melissa says, not to brag, but I had one of those sweet, sweet TVs with the knobs in my bedroom as a kid with the Betamax. I don't know what a Betamax is. I think that like skipped our household because I have older sisters and they might know, but like, yeah. Thank you. Erin, go read. Hello, hello. Nice to see you. So exciting. Congratulations. Much appreciated. All right, so we're on to question 3 of this book tag, which is they're a 10, but they're a red flag. Okay, so I would say that if the outside of the package is a 10, but they're a red flag, the number should go down, right? Right. Like that logically makes sense. So what do I have for this one? I have the book that could have gone for all of these prompts except for the pre-order one, which is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. I loved this book in high school. It, like, spoke to my soul. But growing up, like, in the last 5 years, learning about things in BookTube and race relations and portrayal of the other and all this stuff. Yeah, there's some red flags in here, and so I probably have to downgrade it to, like, 6, because the writing is still there, the journey is still there, the relationship building is still there, the redemption arc is still there, like, it's still yeah. So, that's my answer for that, but it also applies to every other prompt except the pre-order one. So there we go. I actually don't have, because it would have been nice if I had a pretty cover for this one. This is actually not a version that I've read. I don't remember how I got it. It's falling apart. I actually took some pages out to do art with, so it's garbage. Um, but I haven't invested in another pretty version of Jane Eyre because I don't know, dead artist doesn't need it, publishing doesn't need it. So there we go. So that's 3. We're on to 4. We're halfway through. There are 10, but they're 100 years old. And for me, is that a high or a low? A high or a low? 100 years old. If it's that dated, it could mean that there's red flags, and so that would take you down, right? But it could also be like a classic that, gives you a beautiful vision of another time, and that might be better. So I have a few examples of books that are really old, um, and the covers are really pretty. So that one is called The Alhambra, and it's like a I don't know if this is red Morocco leather. Red Morocco leather is something I read about in Victorian books, and I don't know what it actually looks like. I mean, I'm not a bookbinder, but I think it's just cloth, but I can imagine it's fancy, right? So this was actually published in 1921. So it is 101, and it's basically a touring book. It's by Washington Irving with an introduction by blah blah blah, illustrated with drawings by Joseph Pennell. So it's just like this really pretty touring guide, kind of like what you would imagine a Baedeker would be. And I haven't read it. I just sort of glanced through it because I don't want to deteriorate it anymore. It's got these gorgeous. Um, See, I don't want to do that. They're not woodcuts. What do you call these? Like the I can't remember what the printing style is called, but some are illustrations and some are maybe it's like a stamping process. Anyway, really cool. And I've been to the Alhambra in Spain. So I think like when I came back, that's why I was drawn to this because it's by a famous person. There's like the tracery in gold and like pretty cool, right? So be a little more careful with that one. Uh, yeah, Melissa says, I just always assume if it's old, there's going to be some red flags, guaranteed. Pretty safe assumption. Um, what about this one? So it's a 10. Look at that. It's got embossed, like raised um, pieces on the cover and gold on the spine and a harp at the top. I mean, if you got a harp with like symbolizing Ireland, you're gonna draw me in here. It is, and I have 3 of these. It's 3 of the 10 volume set because they're never together. That would be too expensive. Of Maria Edgeworth's novels and tales. It's 6, 7, and 10. So Maria Edgeworth, I think, is a contemporary or a slight antecedent to Jane Austen. I think she did sensation novels. She was very popular in her time. And this set was printed in 1865. So again, very cool. You see, it says like $5 used on the front because books needs them. But this also has, and I can't remember the name. It's going to bug me. The printing technique, where it's very pointillist, and you have like the paper to line it so that it doesn't come off on the other side. It's just really fine printing and big margins and like the type that goes into the page. It's just like another world. Was not Cecilhurst always a home to you, Helen Stanley? and the language is gonna be crazy. I haven't read these. I haven't read these. So it's definitely a case of, like, judging a book by its cover and not wanting to, um, uh, not wanting to deteriorate it by handling it too much. But anyway, over 100 years old for sure. Yeah, love the look of an old book. Me too. Me too. So those 2, if you haven't done it yet, feel free to like the stream and subscribe to the channel if you're watching this on the rewatch. The next question, number 5, is there a 10, but you studied it in school? And I just realized that I skipped one that I was going to go over. That's fine. That's fine. Any guesses on the one that I studied in school? Because when there are books that I studied in school that I really didn't like. But is it because I studied them in school? I don't think so. In general, if it's a 10, if it's a good book and I studied it in school, it only enhances the quality of the read, right? Where are you on the scale? Are you up or down? Because for me, reading Hamlet in school, which Jeremy, I think you said you hadn't read Hamlet in school and it wasn't your favorite. When we were talking about Othello, the buddy read last month, I think that came up in the discussion. And um, I went to Catholic school and we had rudimentary theater and we were only allowed to do Shakespeare because no one could argue with Shakespeare. And so I had, let's see, Much Ado About Nothing, then Hamlet, then Twelfth Night, then Midsummer Night's Dream. And I have fond memories of all of those because when you work with a text in class enough that you're comfortable with it and you have to memorize passages and you have to say it on stage and you have to ponder different ways it could be taken in meaning, it just, that familiarity does not breed contempt, it breeds enjoyment for me, at least for these. And so, if anyone has also been to the same place with Hamlet, you will hopefully enjoy the story that touches on this tale in my short story collection, Fabled Passages. So that is just a little tempting treat there. But yeah, so Hamlet, and I would say it's a 10, but I studied it in school, so it's a 12. Um, okay. All right. So Jeremy says, I love Hamlet. Okay. So it wasn't that one that I was talking about. It must have been a different one that I don't remember. You love Hamlet. Awesome. Anita is of a different opinion. Hamlet would not be a 10 for me. Macbeth, but not Hamlet. See, there we go. Macbeth. I've seen Macbeth on stage a couple times, and I really liked that. So yeah, I could get behind 9. But I mean, if 10 out of 10 is the highest, I can't give it a 10. Melissa says, wholeheartedly agree. My fave is Macbeth. There we go. Finding friends in the comments. And that's the first Shakespeare I studied in school. Yeah, there's something about like your first time, dare I say, that makes it really good. All right. So, final one is they're a 10, but they leave you an emotional wreck. And I didn't get an overlay for this one, but that's fine. So an emotional wreck. I don't normally like that feeling. So I guess the logic of the trend would be that it would be less than a 5-star book, right? It would be less than a 10. So I imagine this would be like a book that was really hyped, and then like I don't know, maybe it was problematic and it ended up being just confusing. I don't know. Feel free to volunteer your own interpretations. Um, I I chose to I, I chose to make this. It leaves you an emotional wreck slash thirsty. So I'm gonna go with historical, literary fiction, romantic elements, action adventure. The other Leah Engstrom book. It's called Out Front the Following Sea. This is the one that Jim reviewed that he really liked as well. Um, it's so good. So it starts out very dense. You're in 17th century Connecticut, which you don't know much about, and it's very foreign. And this gal is like super in trouble, and you're in her head. and then you get to know some of the characters and some of the backstory, and she's fighting through, and you're in her corner, and then like the devastation and the hope and the more fights and more allies, and it's like literally like troughs and valleys. It's so good. So by the end of it, I'm not gonna spoil it, but by the end of it, I was kind of an emotional wreck because the ending was so, so good. So good. So, yes, recommend. And look at that cover. That starts out as a 10. That's so unique, that style. I really liked it. So, that's the tag, and then I thought I'd go off because that's what people on TikTok do. So I thought I'd just pull up some other fun things. Le costume historique. So this is a book that I got, and I thought it'd be a good resource, but it's still like new because I haven't used it very much because it's too pretty. So they're a 10, but they're in French. So you're looking at like historical costume detail, and the explanations are all in French, which, you know, you can be conversant in French and fluent and still not know, the term for an 18th century seam. I don't know the word for seam in French. But anyway, the pictures are really cool. There's lots and lots and lots of pictures. So they're a 10, but it's in French. So 12. There we go. Um, The Nature of Fragile Things by Susan Meissner. They're a 10, but they're about the 1906 earthquake in California. 12. That's one of my like hobby horses. That's one of my little interest areas. So it may not be for you, but for me, that gives it an extra boost. Let's see. I've got Firebird by Susanna Kearsley. They're a 10, but they involve supernatural jiggery pokery. 14. 14 all the way. So you're getting like a sense of my taste here. These are all the ones from my favorite shelf that I've just taken off. So Wanderlust, A History of Walking by Rebecca Solnit. They're a 10, but they're about the history of walking. 15. 15. Rebecca Solnit before she was super famous. I loved this book in college. And then a final example. They're a 10, but they've got vampires. 15. Sunshine by Robin McKinley. You know you've heard me recommend this before. So I just thought that was kind of fun to do, my own take, my own logic, and just give some extra examples. Feel free to throw out your own. Um, I mean, this could even be like a marketing thing. Instead of saying it's this meets this, you could say it's a 10, but it does this, and that could be something that for your audience vaults it up even higher. So get creative. You never know. You could take something from Booktok and it could actually turn out to be useful. Who knows? You can always dream, right? Let's see. Melissa says, I love a good feel bad novel. Good feel bad novel. Huh. And Anita says, The Book Thief is an emotional wreck 10. A 2 Kleenex box book. Oh, is that the Zuzak? I think there's at least a couple big books that are called The Book Thief, and I was confused the first time I saw this recommended because I think I read the other one and I was like, what are people talking about? But Marcus Zuzak, I think, is the one that I was supposed to read, and I didn't. I haven't gone back to read it, but good to know that it's recommended by Anita. So that is it for my Friday night. Today was a big day. I think I had like my heart racing and my mind racing and like, ooh, I don't know. I felt like I was a computer for the first 6 hours, pinging through all the different things that I had to change and update and respond to. And I think it came off well, but I'm also taking notes on this launch because it's completely different. I'm using a different distributor. I'm doing pre-order differently. I'm only in one format, like ebook rather than print. So there's a lot of things I'm learning as I go, and I'm trying to take notes so I don't finish and go, wait, what happened at that point? Because it'll all vanish in like crazy mind because you won't remember. So stay tuned for more information on the launch. Again, the book is coming out October 25th. It's a less than 100 pages, so like novella length collection of short stories, and they're speculative fiction. So they're all like supernatural stuff happening. Um, and I don't know, empowering somehow. That's the vibe I hope you get from it. I've got a couple interviews lined up when it's launching, so hopefully those will come out in a few days, and you'll get to see more of what went into the book. So yeah, that's about it. This is a great one. Melissa says it's a 10, but it's a secondhand book with a weird smell. Oh, I don't know, the weird smell. Secondhand books I'm all behind, but the weird smell would probably be off-putting. Yeah, I'd have to say like a 7 if I had to like ugh, air it out or like put paper towels and try to, yeah, goes down. Oh. Jeremy says when you show up to book club having read the wrong book with the same title, LOL. Yeah, like, I mean, as an author, you are told to do your title research and not choose another book that's big and recent with the same title. Like, duh. Apparently, this person didn't care. Yeah, ain't no thing, right? So, that is it for today. There is a lot coming, so let me just give you the rundown. Today's Friday. Sunday, I've got a panel. We're going to be doing something called Put a Finger Down, which is another book talk challenge where you start with 10 fingers and you're asked 10 questions. And if you've done the thing, or if you do the thing, you have to put a finger down. And everyone sees your secret bookish habits because that's going to be the theme for my moderated panel. So that should be fun. Sunday at 11 a.m. Pacific. Then Wednesday, I've got my next Wednesday wrap up, which is going to be mystery focused and with another extra. So, like, those are the books I'll be talking about. I'll give you a quick peek. And then next Friday, I've got the mystery panel for Smash or Pass. So, the 3 series, another book talk trend, Smash or Pass, we're going to be doing the mystery bookish tropes edition. So I've got a few people on panel for that, and that should be really fun. And then that's just next week. So I'll just give you next week. It's a busy month. Did I mention that? So thank you for being here for this like fun little tag. Maybe you look at your books in a different light and you come up with some more fun reversals like Melissa did and put them in the comments. That'd be really fun. Uh, until next time, I will see you Sunday. Thanks for coming by and chatting, everyone. It's been a pleasure. Have a great weekend.